let me give Holly a little bit of an introduction. So Jack River is Holly's stage name, and she's based in New South Wales as a multi-instrumentalist and singer-songwriter. She's signed to the Aussie indie label IOU Records, and her first single, which was called Talk Like That, was released in early 2016. And she released an EP later that year, which was called Highway Songs No. 2, which I'm not sure if there was a Highway Songs No. 1, but maybe that's part of the allure of it. Which peaked at 19 on the ARIA chart, which is a very awesome chart ranking for a debut EP, that's for sure. In 2017, she released another single, Fool's Gold, and did a whole bunch of touring, including supporting Midnight Oil, her own tour to support that single release, and also a series of concerts which were called Electric Lady, which featured a number of great fellow performers, Ali Barter, Melbourne's own Alex Lay, and also Melbourne's own Greta Ray too. And in 2018, you've been busy, Holly. In 2018, she released her debut album, Sugar Mountain, which peaked at 11 on the ARIA albums chart, and also, to boot, got nominated for 3 ARIA awards. So it's, given that Holly likes to keep busy, in 2019, she released another single called Later Flight, and then in early this year, 2020, she released an EP called Stranger Heart and a single from that called Dark Star. And if I've left any singles out, Holly, I apologize, but you've released quite a lot of music in your time. So without any further ado, this is Holly Rankin, Jack River, everybody, and she's going to talk to us a whole bunch about her music and also her creative process and a lot of extra things along the way there. It's going to be great. So just before we start, I'll remind you all, if you can, just out of politeness, keep your microphones muted unless we're opening it for questions. And you're welcome to, if we have a Q&A kind of session at various points through that, you're welcome to turn your mic on and ask a question, or you can just throw things in the chat window as well, and I can handball those onto Holly too, or Holly might even be able to see them herself. We'll see how we go. But anyway, Holly, it's over to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you for this opportunity. It's something that I really care about, is sharing these weird years of knowledge and freakouts and process in a really honest way. So I'd first as well like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from Ewan country. I'm 3 hours south of Sydney, Mollymook, Narrawali area. I'd love to acknowledge the elders past, present and emerging. Again, I'd like to echo, we are all here as songwriters and people of story, and now more than ever, but also always our role in helping to tell the stories and working to tell the stories of the original inhabitants of this country is so important. So yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is really cool. It's the first time I've done an hour chat or presentation, so who knows if we'll hit the hour or not, because I really wanted to talk to you quite honestly and quite naturally all of these things. I do really think there's a lack of connection between people who have gone and done a good 10 years in the music industry and coming and kind of speaking really honestly with you. So I'm going to try and do that today. And there's a bunch of times where you can jump in and ask me whatever you want. So yeah, my name's Holly. I've been working at my career for just a little over 10 years, which is super weird and scary. I didn't formally study music. I grew up playing guitar and piano, and I guess at about age 10 or so, I started writing songs. I'd always written in my diary as a kid, but started writing songs, and through my teens birthed this dream to become a recording artist and to I guess create what I have now created. But I must open by saying I feel like I'm eternally at the beginning, and every single person's journey, all 42 of you, have an individual career to create and an original individual life. So I'm just sharing, you know, what's happened to me and how I've dealt with it, and yours will be completely different. So, oh, okay. I'm going to break this up into these 5 little chapters. So I'm going to talk about how I got to here. I'm going to talk about vision, which is kind of the, I don't know, the way I do things. It's how I've done everything always, and it gets me to where I want to go. Chapter 3 is music and writing. I'll talk a little bit about music and recording my 3 public works and 2 previous EPs. Talk about music business, and then I guess how it all comes together, where I'll hand the mic over to you. So, learning. The journey to here. So, as you can imagine, well, I'm guessing a lot of you you're in your music degree, so you know, you're learning, you might, I'm not sure, actually, I'm not going to presume what you guys have done because there's so many of you on the call. But my career has taken a little bit of time. It's taken around 10 years to get to where I am, which is, I feel like, kind of a real, I don't want to use the word real. It's so hard talking about creativity, so don't take everything with a grain of salt. But a place where I've got a professional career in the music industry. So one sec, I just learning how to do Zoom. Okay. So as I said, I started writing music when I was around 13, 14. And I guess at age like 17 or 18, I had this vision to create albums and to create Jack River, and went after this dreamy, sparkly kind of vision that I had. So the minute I finished school, I drove up the highway to the Gold Coast and recorded my first EP with a producer that I met at Blues Fest. I jumped the fence, naughty, very naughty, and went and tried to meet Angus and Julia because they were my favourite band at the time, still love them. And I snuck backstage and met their producer, Govinda Doyle, and got talking and just said, I really want to make an EP. I've got these songs. Can I come up and record with you? So that was the beginning of me recording music, jumping a fence and trying to meet Angus and Julia Stone. And luckily I did meet them, and now they're really good friends. I'm not a stalker, promise. So I recorded that first EP when I was 18. I then moved to Sydney and started playing every single venue that you could play. Back then there were way more venues and you could play really late into the night. That was under the name Desire the Horse, which is, I probably shouldn't tell you that, you'll go Google it. But yeah, it was a previous band name. I don't know, I think I played for around 2 or 3 years around Sydney. And this was the really early days, kind of before Facebook and Instagram were a massive thing. It was a little bit more kind of email-y, and I don't know what it was then, 10 years ago. I then recorded another EP under the name Jack River. After that, I decided that I really needed a manager and a label and an agent. I'll talk a little bit today about the things that I thought I really needed versus what I would tell myself now. But yeah, at that time when I had this music that I really loved, I really thought I needed a manager, a label, an agent, all the things, the full deck of cards. So I worked really hard. I sent emails to literally every good manager, every good agent, every label in the country. And a lot of those people I know today, and they said, oh, I remember your email. It's pretty amazing, you know, how much you can accomplish on your own reaching out to people. So at that point, somewhere in between 2012 and 2016, when I had this music that I really loved, I put on a show in Sydney and invited all the people I could at the same time. And luckily, they all came to my show. And out of that, I was offered my recording deal with ARIA, Mushroom. And I think around that time, I found my first manager as well. And in that same week from the same show, I found a booking agent who I'm still with today, Brett Murray. So that was kind of the beginning of finding a team. And obviously it's so important to have a team, but I was really fixated on it, and did, you know, pulled all the people together over a couple of months and got it done. I also signed a publishing deal from that similar few months, where I just worked really hard to get a lot of people listening to the music at once and then get them all in the same room and create a bit of hunger for the project. Chris, you can laugh at my jokes if they're funny. So I signed to IAU and found a really great kind of ally in Johan, who runs IAU. And I think if you guys know that label, they really back independent creativity. They've got DMAs and Violent Soho, Hayley Mary. So I was really lucky from the very beginning to have someone that believed in my vision and didn't want me to change it. And yeah, I'm very thankful for that, because things could have turned out different if I didn't have someone that really backed me in my vision. So fast forward, after that, kind of felt like forever, getting from like age 18, thinking that things would happen so quickly, thinking that I would be like the next Lord or something, and that everyone, you know, everyone had a shot, and they do. Everyone has a shot to achieve this magical, like, quick fix, zoomy career. And that's so cool and beautiful if it does happen. But for me, it definitely took quite a while to get to the kind of golden year of 2018, when I released my debut album and we got the ARIA nominations, and finally sold out tours after doing probably around 3 not so sold out tours, and playing lots of not sold out shows, and playing Splendor, which was always a huge goal of mine. And yeah, it all happened very quickly, but to me, I honestly, not being cocky, but after all those years, it seemed like a long time. I really felt like I deserved it. I was just like, oh, finally, you know, I can make some money and like a little bit, not much, and have kind of just a mutual understanding with my audience and my industry of what I had been trying to do for how many years, like 8 years. And then in 2019, we kind of continued the Sugar Mountain campaign, and I played the Groove in the Mood tour, which was amazing, the Falls Festival tour. I got to support Florence and the Machine and Burnt's Joy and Midnight Oil, and these are all things that I'll talk about later, but like I really did write down, you know, 8 years ago, or 10 years ago, and like wonderfully got to achieve them. So that's been really cool. And then this year is crazy, of course, and we've entered the complete unknown. But earlier in the year, I did release a little EP called Stranger Heart, which did feature Dark Star and Later Flight. So I hope that wasn't boring, but that's a little recap of my career in this industry to date. So for me, earlier in the piece, I thought the stars would align very quickly and it would all flow. But if you talk to anyone who has a successful career, I would say 99% of them have been working at it for a good 5 to 8 to 10 years. And I do know this of a lot of the artists in Australia, like Vera Blue or Matt Corby, Violent Soho, Vance Joy. Actually, Vance Joy is an exception to that. But, you know, you look around and all these people have been there for 10 years and it's like, okay, we all worked hard to be here. So I thought I'd go through a few little things around that time. I guess when and why I started writing and making music, I think it's really important to spend some time like thinking about why you're making music and why you started and then how that changes along the way. Because like knowing what that is helps you to understand why you're making the decisions, who the people are that you're attracting, where it is you want to go, because without that knowing, you can get confused and off track so easily. From the very beginning, I love writing. I love putting words together and I love like creating other worlds in a song and in the production. But for me, all my life, I've also really been very interested in environmental issues and particularly the way music and musicians have a platform to create change. So I've known that all along, and now more than ever, this is coming into play for me and I understand why it is, and it's really cool. So I don't know if that helps with anything, but just know what you're about. It's really powerful and it will guide you to make the right decisions along the way. I talked a little bit before about assumptions and ideals. In the beginning, I definitely thought that things would happen really quickly. And as a kind of very positive person, I definitely believed in like the most positive scenario. And then over those kind of, well, it's 10 years now. Over the 10 years, I had to adjust that and realize this kind of idea of success isn't happening as quickly as I thought. Like, why is it that I still want this dream or vision? And how do I have to adjust my idea of success to be kind of mentally okay? Yeah, and that idea of success completely changes along the way as well. So I think it's so important to understand why you're looking up to certain people, and looking like if you have a gut feeling that you're really looking up to someone in the industry, go and understand their journey and the decisions that they've made to get where they are, because I think you know, for obvious reasons, that's really important. From a really young age, I looked up to Jack White and Florence Welch. Who else? Like Grimes and Beyonce. And these are all people, especially Jack White, who have created really strong businesses, really independent businesses, and they've stayed really true to their art along the way. And being able to refer to their decisions and stories and stuff when I was talking to managers or labels or other musicians gave me the kind of strength and understanding to know that my gut was like supported and understood. I don't know. Like that might manifest itself for you musically or on a business level, or I don't know, but going and looking at your idols and understanding how they got where they got and why, you'll start to see a pattern of really strong decisions, and they are so important. to kind of understand. And there's always really cool backstories and stuff. Taylor Swift has a lot of them. She's pretty awesome. The plan that I had versus what happened. I think it's so cool to have a really big dream, and everyone should dream the biggest and best or whatever. But I've also, like with my journey, I guess I've learned to love everything that this career has taught me. And the fact that it took kind of a little while let me learn other things that I never would have learned if things had happened really quickly. I've also really, really enjoyed learning and enjoying like smaller things, just tiny things like a letter from one person or one conversation. And those things for me actually define success now, not the kind of things that I thought would define success when I was starting out. So definitely think about the beautiful small things as you're dreaming of the big things. So in the meantime, I really love doing things and working hard. And I come from a small town. It's called Forster. It's 3 hours north of Sydney. We had like absolutely nothing growing up. We had an amazing upbringing. Sorry, nothing in the realm of music, live music, and like youth culture. So me and my friends, with the bit of spare time that I had, as my career was kind of rolling along a little slow, we made a festival in my hometown called Grow Your Own. It was set for its 4th year this year, but we've had to move it. We just announced today it'll be moved to next year. YOLO. But that's been a really incredible thing to make. I partnered it with Secret Sounds, who run Splendor and Falls Festival and do a bunch of other amazing things. I also started Electric Lady with some good friends. And that was in, I guess, reaction to the women's marches in 2016. So our industry had a really appalling kind of track record and appalling statistics when it came to radio and festival lineups and stuff. It was very male dominated. So, you know, with this, I really just wanted to do something within my own industry. And with a clear intention, it came together really quickly. And all of this has been a huge amount of work, but it's so kind of rewarding to learn from, and has taught me so much about, I guess, music business and understanding other artists' businesses, and in booking other artists, you're kind of watching how everyone's career progresses and watching what venues they play, which I've realized is such an important thing to do, understanding how other artists' businesses, not to judge them, just to understand them, move about the industry. And again, you can just learn so much from like looking at where people play and why and what festivals they play, and yeah, fun stuff. Okay. So, what else did I do in that time? Because I know that a lot of you are at uni now, maybe you're looking to transition like quickly into a professional music career, or I don't know where you're at, but I think it's so important for us to talk about. Like, I was a nanny, I did waitressing, I moved home to my parents' house for maybe like a year. I've lived in a share house with like 6 people for 4 or 5 years in Sydney. I moved out like a year and a half ago to the country. But yeah, it was so important to have other jobs and you know, other worlds and other friends and other support systems than just my career throughout that time. I freaked out about so much stuff over this time. It's so hard to compress all this into an hour, but yeah, I guess I'll keep talking about what anxieties and big freakouts I've had along the way. But a lot of the time, there's just so much anxiety and comparison and unknown that comes with a career in our industry, because the market, which is us and our careers, is so out of control. There's hardly anything that is controlled or kind of trustworthy other than the people that you work with and your love for your art and the music that you're creating, and your trust in your gut, really, in yourself. The parameters of success this is true to any industry, but especially in ours, there's so many different kinds of success. There's like, you know, streaming, YouTube, live performance, charts, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. There's like all these different ways that you can choose to value yourself, or that your team or whoever will value yourself. And I bet all of us look out at people's Spotify monthly listeners or their followers or whatever, and we judge them and say you're successful or you're not successful. That amount of like potential mental trauma that can create is pretty massive. Like, artists don't talk about it because everyone has to act like it's all good all the time, but it's very constant, that kind of tugging of like, am I successful? And if you don't have an idea of like what success is to you, or like what you're chasing after, not chasing, but working toward, you can get really easily distracted. And it's so cool to talk to you guys who are potentially at the beginning of your career and just say like, just fuck all that shit off, if I'm allowed to swear, but sorry, Chris. But really, you know, figure out why you love whatever it is that you're doing. Sorry, that's my dog. And really focus on that, like every day if you need to. Sorry, he's barking. Because as soon as you put music out, or you're, you know, in our industry in some form, you're going to be kind of haunted by the all the different ways you can be successful in other people's eyes. So I'll shut up about that. What kept me going is, just a sec, I'm gonna press mute and tell him to shut up. Sorry. What kept me going is absolutely my vision for what I wanted to create. I've kept going back to it on like a weekly or monthly level. So this is my vision board from 2012. Don't judge me. It's pretty in depth because I love making things pretty in depth. I don't know if you can read it, but basically I worked really hard to kind of describe my vision to my team. And to be super honest with you, people didn't really give a shit about this document 8 years ago. Like, some people appreciated it, but the majority were like, this is way too much. You need to calm down and like, don't show people this, it's too much. But this, if I read it now, it's like exactly what I wanted to create and what I'm still creating. And yeah, and my team now, and people who said this is too much, have said, no, you were right. This is really amazing that you had this back then. So that ability to like articulate your vision, even if it's just for yourself, is so cool and so powerful. There's so much inside whatever you're doing, thinking, working toward, that you can understand for yourself without asking others to validate it for you or like tell you what you should be doing. If you're here in this session, yeah, you've probably got, or if you're at JMC, you know, you've got a purpose and a passion and it's all inside you. So work to kind of get out as much as you can and understand it for yourself and break it down. It doesn't have to be this in-depth, but it's really fun and good to do. So fast forward to 2020 and I still do the same stuff. This is my latest kind of vision board thing that my team and I put together for Stranger Heart. Something I love to do is like, you know, look at the values that I want to come through my work, and whenever I get confused about what I'm doing, I'll go back to these vision boards that I created, and I don't know, it just makes you remember and makes it really easy to kind of navigate whatever it is you're confused about. So yeah, Pinterest is your best friend. As soon as it also helps on a production level for me. Anytime that I'm making a song, I make a Pinterest board immediately, and it helps to like create the visual feeling of the song. And as soon as I need a film clip, I'm like, I've got the vision board ready. So that's another fun thing. Again, I'll just say that our world is like overflowing and polluted with other people's visions. Every time we log onto Instagram, we're like, our imaginations are so bombarded with other people's visions, and that's so dangerous for creativity, I think, because I think my favorite artists like feel like they're from another world or their complete own world. So again, just coming back to your own vision is so important. One thing I would tell my younger self is to like dream, you know, make a vision as one person, but be aware if you're really driven on a professional or career level, remember to dream for your personal self as well. And I think like we don't get asked like in year 12 and stuff. I don't remember being asked to think about where I want to live, or like whether I want to live in the city or the country, or whether I want to have a family. And just like, I know you don't know those things until you come across them in life, but I definitely have been insanely fixated on my career, and I've missed like a lot of friends' birthday parties and a lot of cool family stuff. And I know, you know, you have to do those things for your career sometime, but I would say like also think about what you want to do as a human, as you're kind of being quite fixated on what you want to do in your career. So yeah, this is just some questions, like if you haven't kind of thought about that, the whole vision thing, these are some little questions to get you started. I think it pays to be really real with yourself. Like think about the risks and of your dreams, think about the reality, and get really detailed. Like another thing I didn't think about, I don't know, and some of you might feel the same, Chris might feel the same. When I was thinking about this career, I did not realize the amount of touring that I would have to do. And I didn't realize how much that would be my whole life as a musician. And I'm someone that comes from like a small town and loves like walking my dog and swimming in the ocean and all that stuff. And for the past few years, in the kind of height of busyness, I really miss those things and like completely tripped out when I didn't have them. And it worries me personally, I'm just sharing this with you, that I don't really know if I can aim toward being like a huge touring musician. So like, you know, touring the world, etc. But it's kind of really nice to understand that and not have the traditional kind of goal or dream in place, because I know that I really need a dog and I need to swim in, you know, swim in the ocean and that stuff. Like, I'm really unhappy without it. So yeah, they're fun things to think about. Time's going so quickly. I'm a real rambler. So yeah, connect to and understand your vision, but also have the ability to let go of it and trust, you know, trust the world and trust the universe when things aren't going your way. Give it a rest. Do something else if it's just not working out. Understand why you're doing what you're doing, because it'll lead you in the right direction if you have that inner understanding. And on vision, yeah, what is your vision? Can you make it clearer? What are you unsure of? And, you know, own the unsureness, because the answers will come your way. Like, don't fake it if you're not feeling it. And then how are you going to communicate it to other people? Question? Anyone?
Did you doubt going into the industry?
Oh, did I doubt it?
Like, not so much creating the music part, but just being in the industry.
Yeah, in the beginning, I didn't doubt it because I had no idea. I was fully from a small town and did not have any idea about this industry. But across these years, I've absolutely had like really serious doubts about continuing on, because, you know, I've just been in places where it feels like you're not getting anywhere and no one cares what you're doing. But that going back to that vision and just the weird little gut feeling always kept me going.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, how did you sort of manage working so much and working on your music? And how did you organize personal time and work time, and when to like stop and take a breather? Because I'm from like a small town as well, and I moved to Sydney to come to JMC and really focus on my music and really work on myself as an artist. But I'm starting to find it quite difficult, like working and then, you know, focusing on music and just being able to calm myself down and make sure that I'm okay and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's like the golden question. I've totally found that really hard. And it's been like my main like thing in life that I struggle with is a balance of work and personal and music. I think the number one thing that's more important than music and work and everything is your like personal time and rest and the ability to just stop caring about music and don't stop caring about work, but like that should be priority. So the other crazy thing is like our industry revolves around these magical songs that like you can write 100 and they might all not be good, and then you just randomly are walking and you write one and it's good. So like it's the most idiotic thing really. But I would say like trust that you'll write good music when you just look after yourself as number one. And like my little weird secret is I'm like, you guys all might be really different and the majority of musicians don't do this. But I don't try really hard to write music. This is probably bad to say at music uni, but I've learned not to stress out about writing songs because they're just songs. Like they're pretty little melodies and words. They're really cool and important, but we can't stress out over them because that's crazy. I hope that helps.
Can I how did you manage to break in backstage and have a chat with Angus and Julia and all that? Because the Sekis are hectic at those things.
It's so weird. I feel like it was one of those wacky, fateful days. I think I had a ticket and a wristband, but I don't know. Actually, I can't remember if I did or not. Like maybe I did for one day, but not this day. Anyway, I was trying, and this is so bad. I'm a festival owner, and I don't condone jumping fences. But this is, you know, a long time ago, 12 years ago or something. Shit was more chill. But a security guard actually let me in. So love him. He's the reason I'm here today. Yeah, and I don't know, I just like snuck through. So good luck if you get there, you know you're there. Okay, on that note, I should get to the next section of the chat. Music and writing. So I did just talk about this, but I've loved writing for all my life. I'm not like a technical musician. I find it really hard to read music, even though I studied as a kid and stuff. My main love is words and lyrics. So these are some of my diaries. Actually, they're behind me here. I keep them there to remind myself that I do actually write music and I do actually write words. These are my three, my 2 EPs and my album that I've made. Highway Songs #2 was a collection of recordings that I've made with different producers, but mainly John Castle in Melbourne. That was like my first time working with a, you know, really good, well-known producer. It was really fun, but he was also very encouraging of my vision, and I was luckily quite strong with my vision. So that was good. The dream didn't die. With Sugar Mountain, I met Xavier Dunn, who's an amazing young producer. He is very technical and has a bachelor of, I don't know, but music. And I think he specializes in some exotic string instrument. Anyway, I met Xavier and we recorded most of this album in his bedroom. So I just want to point out, like, you all know this, but you don't need a fancy producer. You don't need to spend insane amounts of money to make an album that works and that sounds big and wonderful. And with this album, another thing that I love to do is, like, we're so lucky in music. We get to listen to like the best in the world, just like that. We get to hear their work by going onto Spotify. So aim really high. Like, if you want to, like, listen to your references and believe that you can nail that reference. That's something that I took into Sugar Mountain musically and on a production level, is comparing it to my absolute Grammy winning world whatever-y artists, and like working until it sounded, in my mind, like close to those artists. So that's another fun little kind of mental production tool. And with Stranger Heart, this one is just like a fun EP to break up releases and to kind of take a breath. Like, if you've listened to it, you probably hear that it's like less produced than Sugar Mountain, and it's a bit all over the place. And I did that because I really needed to let go of and push away the expectation to create this like upgraded version of Sugar Mountain. All artists talk about that, but so Stranger Heart was as much for me as it was for listeners to just like stop, revive, survive on the whole expectation thing. These are my two old EPs that didn't make it to the world, but they will forever be in my heart, just showing you that, you know, it takes sometimes 2 things that don't get released to get to 3 things that do, or it might take 10 things, but yeah. So with music and production, I guess I'm not going to ramble on like the other areas because it's really up to you. You've got to trust your gut massively. You've got to speak about your vision until the other person understands it, and if they don't, then don't work with them. Be a perfectionist in your own way. I don't know what that means for you, but like know that you can, if you keep working at it, you can nail whatever thing it is that you're doing. You can do it yourself. We have all the tools, you know, on our laptops and in our rooms to make world-class records. Again, have no limits with your inspiration. I think it's just so cool. Like if you're in any other industry, it takes a long time to kind of get the tools or like hear the professionals or whatever. Ours are literally at our fingertips, so you have no excuse not to have world-class references. And again, showing people, whoever it is that you're working with, that you have those references and you're trying to create whatever it is, I think really will impress people, if that helps. And yeah, I just can't tell you how much you need to be free with your creativity and imagination. And if there's people around you that are like paying you out for that or questioning whatever it is you're creating, then you shouldn't be friends with them. Okay. So some things I've found challenging about releasing music publicly and some things that it has taught me. I can't believe we're almost up to an hour. But anyway, I think the kind of the expectation thing and the comparison thing with releasing music publicly is pretty hectic. Like if you want affirmation for your work, you're going to be on Instagram into like infinity when Elon Musk has populations on Mars. Like we can go forever without anxiety. And for me, I haven't struggled like crazy amounts, but it's pretty hectic that if I wanted to go and see like what people think of my stuff, I could just do it right now. And yeah, that's that though has taught me to not care about what people think as much as I can. I'm not saying that I've gotten there, but the whole thing of releasing music is understanding why you have a need to release it publicly. And if that relates to like some weird thing about getting affirmation in the world or something, you should not do it for those reasons and maybe go fix that so it doesn't come back and hurt you when you're releasing music. So like all those really interesting things come out when strangers and your emotions and like streaming platforms and Instagram all come into one little bubble. And, you know, it can get really shit really quickly. So it can also be amazing and you meet lots of beautiful strangers. Is there a question here?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
After you produce your albums, what's your process? Do you write with a band, or do you write, produce, and then what's your process to get it to like a stage show?
Yeah, of course. So in my case, I often write my songs on my own or with Xavier. They're kind of the two ways that I will write. So I write the lyrics and melody and basic chords and stuff. And then quite often I'll take them into Zave sporadically, and we just sit there and like finish off the song. And often as we're creating a demo, we're thinking this is just the final thing. I work on like a really shitty demo at home. And then when I go in with Zave, we're just working on the recording straight away. So I've never kind of set aside like a big chunk of time to go record an album, which a lot of artists do, but that really scares me. I really like just recording and kind of working on something when I'm really feeling it, so I'm really there. So that's how I've done it so far, and that's how I like doing it. And then so we'll produce it in Zave's room or my room, and we then send it off to mixing. And again, there's so many great mixes here, but I've a really wonderful thing that's happened is mixing with Spike Stent in LA, who's worked on all the best pop music in the world. So I feel really lucky to have sent stuff over to him for mixing. We then get all of those mix stems back, and I work with a music director in my band who's just basically a great tech / guitarist legend. And we then go and kind of dissect all the stems in the song and pick who in the band should play what. And then we run track as well for our live show. So yeah, that's how we kind of convert it. And then more and more I'm spending more time working on the live show. It's not something that I kind of, again, realized that I would really want to perfect. And I didn't know how much time it would take. It takes a lot of time.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh wait, no, I can't.
I have a quick question as well, if you have time still.
Yeah.
Forgive me for not having my camera on, but my question is, how do you have you struggled with the idea that making music might not be what people want, and like how does that tie in with like perfectionism and making stuff that you want and getting people to actually like it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that anxiety, if I'm really honest, I think it would for everyone. It shapes the music you make just a little bit, and the amount that you let that in, will shape your music. So you've got to be conscious of how much you're letting in that fear or anxiety, but it might be for a good reason. You've just got to judge it on your own. So it's really a gut feel thing. Like it might be like they're not ready for 100% of my vision. I need to go meet in the middle and deliver something that's 50% me, 50% what I think people want to hear. And I think just having a gut feel and spending some time with, like, does this music, is it intended for X audience? Is it intended to go out in the world, or do I just need to make it for my soul? Like, am I just making it because I need to make it? So I think, it's kind of heartbreaking when you just feel like an artist's work is like too hectic and random. And you're like, maybe you didn't need to share that, but maybe you do, like, you don't know who's listening. So again, it's like just following your gut. And if you've got a lot of anxiety around it, like looking at, could that be not about music? Could it be something personal? Because it's all so interlinked. I hope that helps. It's a pretty subjective area. Okay, shall I move on to the next section, Chris? Cool. So I'm going to talk about music business quickly, and then we'll take, I think I've got a nice little chunk of time for questions at the end. So throw me more. music business is something that I've really enjoyed learning as an artist, because often artists, unfortunately, and I don't usually like to generalize, but I think it's kind of like a real one here, that a lot of artists like really shy away from being really highly educated about their business and understanding this business. So here I'm talking about me as an artist and having an artist business, but you can apply this to anything that you're doing, because if you're in this industry, it's like, it's the Wild West. It's very, yeah, there's no structures, there's kind of bits and pieces of like unions and organizations like the Australian Managers Association and ARIA and APRA and stuff, but really, as you would know if you've been studying it, there's a lot out there. It's constantly moving, constantly changing, especially for artists. We're in the middle of a storm. So whatever level you're at, whether you're like playing in a pub for the first time, or whether you're Taylor Swift, or sorry, I'm referring to her, it's so random, but she is awesome as a businesswoman. The artists, unless you're like creating, unless you're doing something completely random, and you have an agreement with your manager or something, but like 99% of the time, the artist is the director of their business and their company. You really are the boss of the people that you're working with. I don't mean boss in like a negative term, but it's something that we really need to understand as artists, is you are the director of your company, and you are really responsible for how it runs and what happens, just as much as your manager or whoever else you've got involved. So this is the team that I have gathered across many years. As we said in the beginning, I work with IAU Records. I work with Unified as my managers. I work with WME as my booking agents in Australia. I work with Media Arts Lawyers as my legal team. Paradigm Talent Agency as my US Canadian bookers. I'm signed to Mushroom Publishing in Australia and New Zealand. I don't have a publishing deal for the rest of the world. And I'm signed with Network Music Group in the States. So, and also I work with the Guild Group as my accountants and business managers. So all of these people together make up my team. And this has grown over this whole 10-year period. And I've learnt over this whole time what each person does, and work to really understand their role and not think that they're meant to take another role in this group of roles. So I also, like, by nature of working in the industry and playing at different festivals, it's important to note that we work with all of these companies. Like, you're working with everyone all the time, and it pays to really like understand and say hello and be respectful and be kind to everyone in the industry. It really is such a small industry in Australia, at least, and everybody knows everybody. So yeah. Another thing I'm really passionate about talking about is, as an artist, or as a young artist, I kind of got this impression that I should only talk to the people in my label and my management company and my agent. I had this really weird belief that I couldn't be friends with like music professionals from all these other companies. And I don't know if that's a real thing. I think it is. Like, why are you talking to them? Like, you're an artist, like, you shouldn't be talking to blah, blah, blah. But I luckily, like, ignored that and have really great relationships with all of these different people. yeah, so like letting go of that weird, I don't know if anyone has that yet, but you know, a weird kind of protectiveness or like anxiety or shyness around connecting with all different kinds of people. Some quick notes on building a team that I bring to you from the standpoint of I've worked with 3 different management companies, met with lots of labels, I've been offered different things, been rejected bazillions of times. Yeah, trust your gut, like always. It's the most magical thing that we have when we're entering an industry where we don't know all the spider web of things behind what we're being offered or who's talking to us. Understand your values and who you are, and look for people that really align to that. If someone doesn't, it's like you know, when you're growing up, like a family, it's just those core values of who you are really should shape who you work with. And if someone's like really not, it's not like they need to be like you, they just need to have the same values as you, and that might be honesty or respect or whatever. And there's people that like really don't have those values, so really watch out for that, and spend some time thinking about that. Really don't be afraid to ask questions that you might think are like hard or awkward. This is for everyone, but especially artists. Again, you're kind of taught to be so thankful for everything you're being offered, and you might accept things just because like you really need them, and you feel like desperate or whatever. I definitely have made this mistake of not like slowing down and looking for evidence and history and a track record that aligns with what someone's offering you, or how they say they work, but like there's no evidence to support that they actually work in that fashion. Stay honest with yourself and your team. Again, all of this stuff is like life stuff that I can't tell you how much I wish I had listened to this. It would save me years in some instances. Stay really connected with the industry. You don't need to be like a crazy social person, but it's important to have a support network that's outside your team as well. And a really good one in Australia is like spend time, and you guys already would be because you're studying, but understand the existing connections between companies and individuals before signing anything, or like telling, you know, people information and stuff. Like everyone's really connected, and or even saying negative things, or you know, just understand how connected each person is. Or if you're meeting with a lawyer, understand who they represent and why they might be telling you certain information. And one really cool thing to remember is like what are you good at that you could bring to your team? Because yeah, what you're naturally good at will define your team and can positively shape what you do and how quickly you do it. If you haven't noticed, I love organizing, and I love details, and I've learned to love music business a lot. So I'm really involved in my business, and I really like it that way, and it makes me feel kind of empowered to know everything that's happening. But you might be an amazing graphic designer. You might want to be a booking agent as well. Like you might be a lawyer and a musician at the same time. Like you can be a part of your team as well. I won't harp on about this because you're all studying music, but learn your rights as a music producer, performer, contractor, creator. I could talk on this for an hour, but like the standards in our industry are really out of line when it comes to what musicians receive for what they create, and the Australian standards at play, I believe, will change a lot over the next 20 to 50 to 100 years. So just know what you're getting into and triple check that you can't do it another way. Learn the role of people in your team and what they are and are not responsible for. That's another thing. There's so many roles in our industry that it's really cool to know what your, say, manager is and isn't responsible for. One really important thing to know is that managers are not usually responsible for finances whatsoever. So that's a big kind of thing that a lot of musicians learn by mistake, is that their manager actually isn't responsible for their money and their business. Fun one. Again, really trust your intuition. It knows more than any source out there. I know I'm going over time, so I'll be quick, but another thing that I really want to call out that I wish I had someone kind of tell me is, like, do not feel weird about having a part-time job until you're sure that your music business can support you, because it really is already such like a stressful, unknown industry, and you don't deserve, when you're putting in all that energy, which you guys already have, you don't need to stress about another thing, which is the easiest thing, going and getting a job on the side to support you. Like, don't have shame in it. It's actually a really awesome thing to do, is to be able to support yourself. Especially being a creative, you don't want people telling you what to do when there's money involved and stuff. Yeah, so I think this is my last slide. Yeah, I just hope all of you believe in your vision and do your career in your own way, because if you look to the top of our industry, the best careers really are built on really strong creatives who have again and again presented their vision, and that kind of gives them direction in a way that will always trump everything, I think. So yeah, over to you guys and some question time.
Thanks, Holly. That was really awesome. Really awesome. Who's got some questions? I know many of you do. Fire away.
When you recorded your first music, when you just started, did you think about releasing it right away, or did you hold off and try to work on it more?
I did try and release it right away. Like, because again, I would say back then, I personally didn't know anything about our industry. So I did try and release it straight away. I think I put it on Triple J Unearthed and stuff pretty quickly, but within a few months, I got the feeling that I should take it down and do more preparation. Again, it's like just trusting that gut, and also being aware of, like, you just wanting to put it up for validation or something. Like, put it up when you're like, this is the best thing I can make and I'm really sure, you know, but also never put it up because you don't, you know, think it's great. That I think I would have definitely been in the basket of, like, I want validation. I want people to think that I'm doing something with my life. Yeah, I was kind of in that mindset when I was starting out, for sure.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Was having a persona always part of your vision, or did you ever think of coming out as Holly Rankin?
Yes, that's a fun one to answer. I don't know. I think for me, I don't know if it was like growing up in a small town and feeling a bit like an alien or something. and being told that I was like crazy for wanting to do music. Like I really was told that I was crazy and like I'm going to fail and all my friends are going to do science or law or whatever at uni. So I just like took solace in creating another world that I could go to and just feel like safe and alone and like weird. And now I'm happy that I did, because I like, this is just me, but I have the ability to like separate it out when it's just too much. But again, it's kind of like depends on you and your music. But I've enjoyed the decision, although it's still weird, and I'm still like, who is Jack River? Who is Holly? I don't know.
Have they merged at all?
Definitely. Like it's pretty cool. As you guys would all know, like making music it's a weird spiritual journey a lot of the time. And Jack River to me is like a real excuse to go and like trip out, like to experiment and walk away from our world and know that I can always do that. And as I've grown up and like things have gotten more hectic in Holly's life, it's like, I can always go to that other world and keep creating. But yeah, they definitely merge, but it's fun to be like, whoops, that was Jack River talking.
Do you write from her perspective? Like, do you think about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess it does give me like more freedom to experiment with how I write. So, and not get attached to like, oh my God, is that completely genuine of Holly, like writing something? Like, do I really feel like that? With Jack River, it's like, let's write in the voice of Gwen Stefani or like the Beach Boys, or for me, it's like, oh, I can do whatever I want. Yeah, but it is also weird. Like it creates some weird, like, oh, who am I? Like, who do I be on stage? And like, yeah, I'm still figuring that out.
Awesome.
But thanks for the question.
All right.
I've got a question, Holly.
Yeah, cool.
If I can, I'm allowed to ask
Of
questions.
course.
What advice would you actually? I mean, you were saying before that we are entering a very strange time, and we're actually, we're past entering it. We're in this strange time, well and truly. What advice would you actually give to someone that might be finishing a music course or might be about to embark on trying to develop their own artistry? When we seem to be, you referred to it before, we seem to be heading towards a new economy, if I can call it that, within music and within the music industry. No one's really sure what that might look like yet. People have ideas, but what kind of advice would you give to someone that's about to embark on this, and from a starting point where you were at 10 years ago?
Yeah, I haven't even acknowledged that we're in Corona time, have I? I'm acting like it hasn't happened. Yeah, like what we're experiencing in the music industry is literally a complete shutdown, and I don't think we've ever experienced that before, and since wartime, as all the other industries are experiencing. But obviously, you would all know the music industry in Australia is absolutely dead, lying on the table right now, and it's really scary. Like I did want to mention throughout the music business chat that live music is like the lifeblood of your cash flow and your business. Like it is everything. And I didn't know that when I was starting out. I just had this magical idea that record sales and streams would equate to an income, but really it is touring that, like, generally that's where you find your consistent and reliable income. So with that vanished for the next let's say like a year and a half, it's not vanished, but like it's not normal and we can't rely on it, and we shouldn't act like it's all okay, because it's not. Like, it is such a hard time to be leaving uni and hoping or expecting to go and start a career in music. I would say that from all the conversations that I've had with all different executives in the industry, there is a really strong belief that in a year or so things will return and they will be as lively as ever, and we will experience a cool little boom in Australia. But I would say, like, if I was your sister or something, I would tell you to be really conservative with your like expectations. Just hold for a moment. Don't rush into entering as an artist, my brother's calling, some sisterly advice. Don't rush into the industry as an artist right now. Like, hold. Sorry, I mean in a live sense, but if you've got music, put it out there. I think we're all consuming music on the net. God, there's so many answers to this question, but keep making music. Just don't expect that it's all going to be normal next year. And like, just know that we're all in the same boat, and it really sucks, especially if you were on the verge of releasing something and you had that feeling that it was the time. I can tell you there's like, you're really not alone, and it's just such a weird time. What was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, yeah, I think just, obviously I can't say how weird this time is for our industry and how unknown it is, but there are also like, I think it's like a really cool time to imagine other ways that you can connect with fans and other ways you can put your music out there, because as our whole culture becomes more digitized, these ways are going to be used. So sink in and get used to it and be patient, because I do believe it will come back. And I'm really sorry that, you know, this has happened when you're just starting your career. It really sucks.
Awesome. There's a couple of questions in the chat box from Nathan, and then Jack is +1ing that, which I think is vernacular for I want to ask that same question. So what Nathan is referring to is he likes to write in a mix of different genres, but he thinks it's hard to find a persona for his songwriting as he's just starting. And what would be the best option to help build his, you know, he's currently at the crossroads of genre identity. What would be the best way that he could go about actually finding that persona? And Jack's addition to that is, as Jack, this is Jack, not you, Jack. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Jack is asking the question. Do you consciously, as Jack River, the artist, restrict yourself to a particular style? And do you have other ideas that you need to reject based on whether they are Jack River enough? Basically? Yes.
Well, maybe I'll start with that, because the other one's hard and I'll try and figure out an answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I do have like a Jack River basket, and I do write things that sit very far outside it, and things that are like on the edge that I don't know if they fit. So many artists do. Like, for instance, hopefully you'll never realize if it comes out that it's me, but like, I've recently written like a crazy song for TikTok that would be like a weird kids song or something, just because it came into my head and it was funny, and I thought this is a great song, but no one can ever know that I've written it, because that would ruin the Jack River mystique. So definitely, like, accept any idea that comes to you that's good, and don't rush to have to put it into your main project. The nature of this like amazing world that we're living in is other things can have a life, you know, just as quickly as they might under a persona. So though I think it's pretty important to establish that realm of whatever it is that you're creating under an artist name, if you are releasing under an artist name, but make room for it all and like work to stretch that realm in your, like, this is saying if you are doing an EP or an album, but like stretch it out in the album with the B-sides and the weirder tracks and stuff. Like for me, I try to have at one end of the spectrum, like, and I'm working toward it, I don't think I've achieved it yet, but like beautiful, shiny, commercial radioable, like sugary pop, and in the middle it's like gritty kind of you know, electro guitar-y, whatever, psych pop. And then at the other end I really want to be able to create really psychedelic folk like B-sides. So I've got this like spectrum that I'm working to create, and yeah, you just try to like lead people with what you think they might connect to, and then keep adding like curveballs in around it. But I don't know what to do about all of the genres. Yeah, just see where the middle ground is and then create like a spectrum around it. Does that help? I'm so dumb I can't see the chat box. Wait, I'll find it. Chat, here it is.
Would you say, Holly, that it's easier to actually pigeonhole and create music when you do have a persona that aligns with that, rather than, you know, it being open season and you can be anything you want?
Yeah, like rather than being like a Holly and doing whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of people. Yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, it would seem that if you've got a kind of wilder spectrum, that often that will sit under an alternate persona, just because like, I'm just thinking of Tame Impala and Kevin Parker. I don't know, yell out if someone thinks of a normal human name that has all the things. But as people, we just have this like kind of set idea of what a normal person is capable of doing. Like it's quite boring until we're reading a book or listening to an album and we remember all these places we can go to. Like I think we have a pretty ordinary view of people's names. Would you agree, Chris? Like,
yeah,
like it's super boring of us, but by putting a different name on it, if you do want to go out into the spectrum, it just eases our ability to believe, to get super Disney and connect into other worlds, other musical worlds.
Like Angus Stone kind of did that with Dope Lemon.
Yeah.
And stuff like.
And his other project, I forget.
Yeah.
What's the name of it? I don't know. But yeah, I like how he's done that. I think he's clearly like Angus Stone lives in Angus and oh no, he did Broken Brights under Angus Stone name. But yeah, I think he's a cool example of an Australian musician that's not been afraid to say, this is my weirder like pot smoking Dope Lemon album, and this is my Live on the Farm Broken Brights album, and
like weird giant cats running around and shit. Yeah.
Yes. Inappropriately dressed cats on stage. Yeah.
Amelia's got a question in the chat box here too, which is, what did you learn from the EPs that you created but didn't end up releasing publicly?
Yes. Okay. I think one thing that comes to mind relates to what we're talking about here, which is like the spectrum and needing to like quickly show people all the stuff that you can do. In the first Jack River EP, I just went like crazy. Like if you heard it, you just be like, whoa, like chill. It was like 100 tracks in the song, or like a maxed out Logic, and it was so full and hectic because I was just trying to say I have this vision that's really big, and it's like the sound's really full, and I just can't show you how like big it is. Like I just had this need to tell people, and because it like the sound was so hectic, but I hadn't put any of the other parts of my career in play to be able to have that sound be like believed and connected to. And this is just my story, but I definitely learned that you can keep, like there's a really good Bob Dylan quote that's like, I don't remember it, but it's like, you don't need to give it all away at once. You just need to believe it in yourself and know that it's true. And with music, I think that's so important to like have it all inside you, like the sound and the future sound and the big dream and all of that, but you don't need to like force it into your first work to be like, here I am, like I can do it all. Yeah, and I'm really now, like in my second album, I'm referring to that EP and I'm really inspired by it. So I'm not saying like it sucked and I wish I didn't do it. I'm just like, oh, now I'm in a place where I can create this big sound and I can replicate it on a live stage, and people are on board and they don't think I'm crazy. So it's just like flowing a little better now. But does that help? Don't force it all into the first thing.
I have a question. You said you worked really hard to get like a team around you, a manager and a label and stuff. What was working really hard? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. I guess at the time, and it's probably still true now, I just emailed everyone. I worked to really understand who each person worked with, and I mean mentally worked, like worked to understand who they worked with, what the relationships were, what they'd done before. And then I was like hyper hustling, which, you know, like it does get the job done if you just keep at it. But just like emailing everyone, following up, going and taking meetings, like being a little bit not pushy, but just like, I really want to meet with you, you know, can we make it happen? Stuff like that. But I meant to say somewhere along the way in the chat that like so much can be done on your own in the beginning, and there is so much power in staying independent for as long as you can. It's all got to be guided by your gut though. So for me, I just had this kind of belief that those people would get me to where I wanted to go at the time. But this was like pre-social media, like social media wasn't kind of, I couldn't access an audience as quickly as I could now if I was starting out. So yeah, take it easy, or hustle if your gut is saying, I really, really want this manager or whatever. Subjective.
I have a question as well. As a festival creator, what do you, I guess, look for when you are accumulating your artists? And I guess the second kind of question is, do you think it's beneficial for non-established artists to keep applying to festivals even though they're kind of looking for bigger acts?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Okay, so like, let me just think. I think so like as a booker, what you're looking for is, the main thing is like to be really brutal. It's like, how many tickets does that artist potentially sell in that area? whether it's, you know, Sydney or Forster or Melbourne or whatever, you look for like a track record of, have they played the closest venue? How did they go there? Have they built a following and, you know, a vibe in that area? So what could they bring to the festival? But at the same time, we, especially with something like Grow Your Own, and all festivals are the same, festival bookers are always looking out to be the first one that discovers an artist, and they're always looking, to find that artist, like a manager is or like a label is, to that, oh my God, this person is amazing, I would love them to be on the festival lineup, not only for the music, but so that they can say that they played that festival first. So I would say absolutely keep applying to any festival and anything, and just know that you're going to have a better chance if you've done shows in the area, and the booker can see that you've given it a crack and that, you know, you're building an audience. Someone like Ziggy Alberts is so cool to look at as a recent act. Not recent, he's been working for like 6 or 8 years as well, but he's played every pub and like venue imaginable in the country, and he just played it on his own back, cruised around for years, and Triple J didn't play him for ages, etc. Now he's got an amazing independent team, independent management. You know, he's selling out 2 Horden pavilions. So yeah, it's just like, believe in yourself, and if you really want to play a festival in a certain area, then start nailing the shows in that area.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Awesome.
Would you maybe be able to talk a little bit more about creating worlds in your songs? Because Ballroom was the first one of your songs that I heard, and I was so sucked into the world that you created in that track.
That's awesome. Okay. Yes. So for me, like my whole love for creating music is creating like another world to believe in, and another suite of production items that remind you of that world. And it's so fun to go and find references from different eras and link them in via sounds and stuff like that. So yeah, and it's just like, as you would all know, it's like painting emotions and thinking, how can I express that with references from films, from songs, from the way the voice is produced, and make them subconsciously reference that weird movie or that weird scene, and you just put it all together to create this emotional like think piece. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, of course, many other artists work that way, and I think all my favorite artists are creating something, like Tame Impala or Florence or Lana Del Rey. Yeah, they're really kind of experts at creating that, and I don't know, I feel like I'm trying, but definitely not like up to scratch of those people, but it's really fun to try and nail it.
Do you create that vision first, or do you let the song sort of develop its own thing?
I think like I would like to say that I create it first, and like, I mean, I don't create it. It's like you start to hear a song in your head, and then it all just quickly comes along to this like weird dream, and then you're like, okay, it's this, and then I'm gonna work to like make it really this, whatever it is. But then some songs come to you, yeah, and they just guide the way, and I don't know, you just follow it. But I think having that just like effortless ability to let go if it's not sounding right. Sometimes a song might take a complete turn just because you're following your gut, and yeah, but it's, yeah, I really enjoy it. I forget how much I enjoy making other worlds until I'm in the studio.
There was a question on the chat box too, Holly. Thanks for answering all of these too, by the way. It's awesome. Which is, what do you do when you feel like you're really lacking inspiration and don't feel like you can write? What are some good things to do to get those creative juices flowing?
Well, I feel like that at the moment, so I feel you. But I think I love remembering that you can be creative in all different ways, and I do think like you shouldn't force it or feel bad for not creating songs specifically, or like production or whatever it is you're doing. Stuff like, I might sound like a trooper, but since we're allowed to talk about worlds and stuff, going for a walk on the beach and looking at nature's creativity, for me, like shells and patterns and structures and stuff, and that really inspires me to just remember what creativity is and how random and organized and stuff that is. But yeah, just find, like, another thing is like the beautiful book The Artist's Way talks about morning pages, and that theory is like, wake up and just spend a couple of minutes or however long writing whatever it is that comes to your head, and you'll quickly realize that without trying to write, your brain is extremely creative and always processing. So if you need to remember that you can do it, maybe just do something like that and don't put pressure on yourself. I don't know. But it does get worrying sometimes. In my case right now, I feel a bit of pressure to work on something, and I can see what I want to create, but I'm not necessarily getting the songs. So just got to kind of let go and enjoy a bit of rest, creative rest. And something I've been doing is I get letters. I got a PO box, and listeners have been sending me letters. So each morning I try and just write back to a letter and like listen to someone else's story and just write to them. So that's creative.
I kind of had a question similar to the one you just answered, but I was wondering if, like, where you get most of your lyric writing inspiration from, which you kind of just said before, but also whether there's any like books that you've read about lyric writing or anything that has really helped you kind of improve on your lyric writing skills.
Let me think. I think just listening to music and reading lyrics like of songs that I love, and letting go of my need to like know that I can do it or something, just purely appreciating language and lyrics of whoever it is, just naturally ingrains like a sense of what is good. And reading really poetic stuff and having I keep my favorite books always around me to just pick up and remember different people's like language and depth of language. It's pretty depressing, like the kind of language that can be in pop music these days. It's like, we could be doing so much better. So also just like not being worried about if it's music that you don't like, don't compare yourself to it, and just keep writing. But don't stress out.
Thank you.
I don't know if that helps, hopefully.
Yeah, no, it does.
I just got a quick question as well. How do you kind of navigate between the world of being super organized and the world of being creative and letting go? Like, has there ever been a clash? Have you had to keep the two separate? Like, how do you go about that?
This is a really good question. I feel like I'm in proper therapy. I found that hard because like the nature of this industry is so just unpredictable, and that's made me want to be more organized and like concentrated and do more stuff to feel stable because of the constant swirl of like things that are happening. But I don't know. I should spend way more time being creative, if I'm really honest. But I just have an inner belief that I can switch and be wildly creative. Just decide to, and then you're like, just click out of being crazy organized. But also, like, I let them be together. So using that like wild imagination in an ordered way. So you've got that like wonderful imagination and just like let it exist at the same time as you're organizing whatever it is, or like say something super weird because you just feel it in conversation, or like, so I've kind of learned to let them exist. But when I get super stressed because something I'm organizing or something business or whatever, I absolutely can forget how like awesome it can feel to be really creative. And I've got a really good bunch of like super weird and wild friends that, you've all got that one really crazy friend that like makes you have fun. So I do like give them a call and just remember that feeling. I think friends are super cool in that way, that you can just be quickly connected to your most kind of fun and happy self. And I definitely need to do it more.
Do you try and structure your days and be like, I'm going to do this now? Or do you kind of go, I have this intention, I feel like doing this, therefore I'm going to go off on, not a tangent, but I'm going to feel like what I want to do in that moment?
Yeah, that's another good question. When I've got like proper stuff to do on time, I'll try really hard. Firstly, I do try and work like 8:30 till 5 every day, or 9 to 4, or I try to keep a work day because the past few years have been so all over the place that I needed to be like, okay, I have a job, I'm not crazy, we're going to concentrate. So I try to do stuff on time that I need to, real life stuff. But with creativity, it's especially now when I've got to create an album, which is annoying and weird in the creative sense, but I try to just let go and let my little magical creative whatever it is slow down and remember the beauty of weirdly picking up a piece of paper and weirdly being inspired, or feeling the urge to go to a certain coffee shop and then you see something or hear something that inspires a song. So just letting go of that crazy organizer to remember the natural inclinations that lead you where you're meant to go, kind of thing. So yeah,
perfect, thank you for that.
Okay, at the moment though, I've been accidentally I've been trying to slow down and be able to write more, but I'm getting distracted watching a series on Stan and just is this meant to be or not? So it can get very murky, that approach.
I mean, who knows, you might find something inspirational from it and write a song.
Hopefully, yeah.
That begs the question, which series are you watching, Holly?
It's really I think it's pretty shitty. It's really good, but it's younger. Is anyone else watching that? It's really addictive. It's 20-minute episodes of New York trash.
Oh, addictive.
I hate it.
Hilary Duff all the way.
Yes, she's so good. I'm just getting really annoyed now. I'm really addicted and it's stopping my work. It's fucked. Nandy says I watch it all. Amazing. Well, yeah, I'm so thankful for all of you listening this long, and hoping that you're all, on your paths, and sorry about Corona happening right at the cusp of great things.
Well, it's like you say, you know, through great adversity comes great achievement, you know. So I think it'll be interesting to see where the music industry does end up. You know, if it's going to be the same or if it's going to be slightly different. But you know, all of us are going to be contributing to it, so it's important to keep that in mind. But anyway, thank you, Holly. It was really awesome. Thank you for everyone for hanging out, asking questions. They were great questions, and it's really awesome to have this experience with you, and to hear a little insight into your career development as well. So thank you very much. Let's give a Zoom round of applause for Holly. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you all, and thank you, Chris, for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you. And what is the best way for everyone to stay in touch with you and to follow you or keep in touch with what you're doing as well before we go?
I guess obviously you can listen to my music on Spotify or follow me on Instagram. I'm at Jack_River, or Facebook if you're still using Facebook. Or you can write me a letter at PO Box 831 in Ulladulla 2539. Got the pile there. I will write back. So yeah, but get in touch, and looking forward to doing more things with JMC. It's so cool to be connected to you, all of you. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and take care of yourselves. We'll see you all at the next masterclass we do. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.